He was supposed to never come back into society, not after what he had already done. But in 2019, he did. Releasing him back to the society would soon prove to be a very wrong decision. Today, I bring you the Thailand serial killer, Somkid Pumpuang. Hello, you guys, and welcome to the G.M.C channel where I bring you the mystery, the ghost, the crime. I am Esther Vincent, also known as Leah Mia on social media. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I hope you guys stick around till the end. If you do, please don't forget to leave me a like, a comment, maybe share the story with others. I would love to create a small little community over here, and if you have not done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Help the channel grow further. With all that said, let's get into today's crime story. So now let's stay in 2019 for a moment, all right? A hotel worker was found brutally murdered in Thailand. At first, it seemed like just another isolated case, but as the investigators looked closer, the way that she was killed felt familiar. It wasn't random or messy, it felt controlled and deliberate. And that led the police back to some of their old case files, murders from years ago, decades ago, that they thought had already been solved. And boom, suddenly one name came back to focus: Somkid Pumpuang, a man who had already served time in prison for multiple murders. A serial killer. And guess what? He had just been released out of prison. Yeah. But before we get to how he came back into the picture, we need to go backwards because this did not start in 2019. It started way long ago. Rewind back to 2005, things were already looking pretty bad in Thailand's northeastern region. Women were being found murdered inside hotel rooms and isolated locations. At first, this case did not connect with each other right away because they were found in multiple different locations at different timings. The victim's age range was anywhere from 20 to 40 years old, which was a pretty wide range. But in multiple cases, they had been last seen with a similar looking man, which looked very normal, so he did not raise any suspicions at that time. As the investigation deepened, the police began linking these similar evidence together, and eventually a single suspect started to emerge. That suspect would later be identified as Somkid Pumpuang. Somkid Pumpuang. Who are you, man? So Somkid was born in 1964, and by the age of 8, his father had left him to live with some relatives. He was told that his mother had already died, but he barely had any other real information of his mom. Then later, he moved back in with his father and his stepmother, and home was always tense with constant conflicts and constant arguments. Even as a child, he was already stealing. At one point, he stole a teacher's bicycle, so he got expelled from school. He was said to be a child that is very quiet and he kept to himself, but his bad behavior continued on. As a teenager, things did not improve. He lost a job at a sawmill for stealing, and in one incident, he strangled a neighbor's cow because that cow had damaged his uncle's garden. Like, how would you strangle a cow? I do not understand. A cow's neck is huge. Did he use like both his arms to like, I don't know. A human, yes, both your palms would be enough, but a cow, I don't know. Eventually, after being beaten by local teenagers, he ran away out of his village and started drifting across Thailand, moving place to place, doing odd jobs, and mostly staying invisible. And by the time he shows up again, he had already been living like that for a very long time. Now it's 2005 and Somkid Pumpuang gets arrested, right? So now he just goes on to confess that he had indeed murdered 5 women in span of just a few months, from January to June of that same year. What happened from living as a nomad, doing odd jobs, to suddenly killing people in 5, 6 months, killing 5 women? What happened, Somkid? All of his victims were masseuses or karaoke hostesses, the kind of job where meeting strangers was a normal part of your job, making them easy targets. He would approach them like a regular customer, sometimes offering them extra money for, extra special special services, and for that, he would bring them away to isolated places like hotel rooms, forests, quiet areas, generally empty spots away from people. Once they were alone, he would attack them. He would sexually assault them and then kill them, most often by strangling or drowning them. In some cases, he tied them up using their own bra and then forced their heads underwater until they stopped moving. After each murder, he would take their money, jewelry, and valuables before disappearing again. At first, the police treated each case separately, but over time, they started noticing the pattern, the same type of victims, the same methods in being murdered, and the same kind of locations. Eventually, a breakthrough came when one victim's mobile phone was used turned on after her death. Police tracked that signal, which brought them completely out of that area, completely out to a different city, but it led them straight to Somkid. On 29th of June 2005, the police raided Somkid's wife's house in Chayapum, Chayap, Chayapum. If I am pronouncing any of these names, locations incorrectly, I apologize. I apologize truly. I'm sorry, but yes, the police raided Somkid's wife's house in Chayapum and arrested him. During the questionings, he went on to confess to all the five murders and gave details only the killer would know. Evidence like DNA and items belonging to the victims that was found with him connected or confirmed his involvement in the murders. And just like that, multiple cases, multiple murders that seem to not have any sort of connection, now all connected and tied to this one guy, Somkid. Somkid was tried for these five women's murder cases, and over the years, different courts handled these different cases, but the outcome was always consistent. He was found guilty in all of them and was sentenced to life in prison. In one of the cases where he denied involvement, the court still convicted him based on strong evidence, including witness accounts and forensic proof. By 2012 to 2013, even the appeals court had confirmed his life sentences. At this point, all of this should have ended, right? Like Somkid is now behind bars, life outside goes back to normal, but no. Yeah, no. Because his sentence started getting reduced. Because of Thailand's prison system, inmates can receive sentence reduction based on their good behavior. On top of that, there are royal pardons that are given out during special occasions like the king's birthday. So guess who had been a good boy behind bars? Somkid. Since he was a model prisoner, he was eligible for both sentence reduction and pardon. And slowly, year by year, his prison time was being cut down. Despite being convicted of multiple murders, there were no strict rules stopping someone like him from getting these reductions. So after serving less than 15 years in prison, he was eligible for release. And in May of 2019, he walked out of prison a free man. Unfortunately, they are about to regret this decision. The same year, December of 2019, just months after his release, Somkid Pumpuang became the main suspect in another murder case. This time, the victim was a 51-year-old woman named Ratsami Mulichan from Khon Kaen, Thailand. He didn't approach her randomly, but he tried connecting with her through Facebook, pretending to be a lawyer. Over time, he slowly gained her trust, and by early December, he had already moved into Ratsami's home. Witnesses later confirmed seeing him there several days roaming around, leading up to her murder. On December 15th, 2019, Ratsami died inside of her own house. She died of suffocation after being restrained. When her body was found, it showed clear signs of a controlled and a violent attack. Her wrists and her ankle had been tied up, and there was an electrical wire wrapped around her neck. Her body was wrapped in blankets, suggesting an attempt to maybe hide the body or delay the body's discovery. After murdering Ratsami, he took all of her valuable belongings and fled. A nationwide manhunt was launched almost immediately, and just 3 days later, on December of 18th, he was recognized by a passenger on the train, mainly because of a noticeable scar that he had on his eyebrow, and the police was alerted. He was arrested on that train. At first, he confessed during the police questioning, and the investigators also found evidence linking him directly to the Ratsami's murder case. However, during the trial, he took back his confession, saying that he was innocent. But in April of 2021, about 2 years later, the Khun Kien court found him guilty of premeditated murder. The judge highlighted the brutality of the crime and the fact that it happened so soon after his release. This time he was sentenced to death. And as of the latest report, that sentence still stands, though cases like this often go through long appeal processes. In the end, what shocked people most wasn't the murder itself, but how soon, how quickly it happened after Somkid Pumpuang was released back to the society. He was already convicted of killing multiple women in 2005, but freed, released in 2019 after receiving sentence reduction and royal pardons. When he was arrested again just few months later for a very similar murder, many people in Thailand questioned how someone with such violent history had been allowed back into the society. My exact question as well, not just for Thailand, for many other countries as well. Like when someone with such violent history, such violent behavior, how are they released back into society just because they were good inside there? Yeah, when they're inside there, they do not have free will. They cannot do what they were doing out here. And so I guess they are good people inside there. And then once when they come out, they repeat back the same thing. So is it worth it to let them out? I don't know. I can't tell. Yeah. The case sparked widespread criticism of the parole board, the parole system, and raised serious concern about whether good behavior in prison is enough to show that a person has truly changed. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment sections below. I would love to know your thoughts. With that, thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you have liked it, please don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. If you have not done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Help the channel grow further. Thank you so much, you guys. And if you feel like sticking around, please watch my other videos that will be popping up in a bit. If no, I would love to see you guys in my next video. Until then, stay safe out there, take care, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.